What if I told you running doesn't have to be hard? What if I told you that you can run and avoid the injuries? What if I told you that running can be one source of losing weight? And what if I told you that running can help your joints get stronger? My name is David. I'm the plant-powered runner. I've been running for like 9 years now. I've run marathons, ultra marathons, 10Ks, and I've been experimenting with heart rate training for quite a while, like probably the last 4 years, 5 years maybe. And so I know a little bit about what makes me happy, what gives me results, and why it doesn't always have to be a grind. Why you don't always have to run every single second of your run. The reason I'm walking up a little bit of a hill right now is because I want to keep my heart rate in a particular zone. Now, not all of my run is like this, and being a runner doesn't always mean that you're running all the time on your runs. Sometimes it's about slowing down. That's what I want to talk about today. That's what I want to talk about today. Over the years, I've gotten faster by slowing down. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's true. And by slowing down, it has allowed me to get faster. And I know that sounds kind of crazy as well, but that is true as well. Running slow, it's not a grind, to be quite honest. It's exactly what I'm doing right now, running slow. There's really not a whole lot to say about it other than I'm putting one foot in front of the other, and in time, I get faster. Now, there always reaches a point where if you want to see greater potential in your running, that you are going to have to add faster workouts. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about showing and talking about my experience in terms of running slow, staying out of the injury box, losing weight, getting faster, and just enjoying the process as opposed to wrecking yourself day after day and then picking up injuries, then having to start all over again. Because that was me years ago. You know, I didn't know how to run properly. Maybe I don't even know how to do it now either. But what I can say is I'm not a coach, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physiologist, I'm not any of those. I'm David. I'm a runner like you, experimenting with heart rate training, Maffetone method, rate of perceived effort, the Progre formula, and overall just slowing down. Now, to some of you who have been following me for a while, you'll understand what I'm talking about. For those of you who are new, who haven't really heard all of the ins and outs as to, you know, how this can work, now I got a couple of stories I want to share with you today, and you know, maybe it'll help you think a little bit differently when it comes to your running. So why should you care about what I have to say? Well, when you are an overweight runner and you're struggling with your life, you're unhappy, it's hard to move, your joints hurt, and carrying so much weight just leaves you with like a lot of depressed feelings, self-worth, you know, like I don't know. It's it hit me years ago, and I didn't want to be like that anymore. I just hated kind of like who I was, and I wanted to reinvent myself into a better version of myself. So that's when I kind of discovered the road of, you know, health, nutrition, movement, running, you know, lifting weights. Like, I'm talking my life had to change. Being successful in one area of life, in business, and not so much when it came to my personal life with regards to my health, you know, that was a stark contrast. And I knew that I had to change, because if I didn't, things would go south. Well, they were already going south. So, like I said, things had to change. Now, by running slow, one of the great things about it is, you know, you're doing it for yourself, right? There's nobody else to compare yourself to. You know, don't look at Strava. Don't look at any friends that you know that maybe, you know, a runner. It doesn't matter. Running has taught me it's about a journey of one, right? It's only you against you, you know, day to day, putting out the grind, right? It's about you showing up for yourself, you respecting yourself, you wanting to be a better version of yourself. So by running slow, it was like the entryway, like low bar of entry into the sport, right? Like, you know, who can start walking, right, with a purpose? You know, that took me a little bit of time, because I had so much weight, you know, I could barely run. So I had to start by walking to lose the weight. And the more I walked, the more I lost. The more I lost, the better I felt, the better I ate, and just kept going down that cycle. When you run slow and you eat well, you burn a lot of calories, right? Like you teach your body to be fat adapted. And so when I started this method of the Maffetone method, I mean, really, it's running slow. Take 180 minus your age. That's the heart rate that you run at. But if you got weight to lose, or if you've regressed in your running, or you're coming back from an injury, blah, 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 you know, you reduce your beats even further. I hated that. I didn't want to, but I did it. You know, and in time, because I'm running so slow, you know, I'm not burning I'm not running in my anaerobic zone, so I'm not burning sugar, I'm just burning fat. And by doing so, the weight started to come off. You know, obviously, I started to eat better as well, so it was a compounding factor between diet and low intensity exercise. I wasn't too sure how well it would all work out, but heck, in the end, you know, when you're running 3 minutes faster per kilometer, you know, when you're not used to that, you know, you kind of look at your life and go, what, man, why haven't I always been doing this? Now, since you don't want to get beat up and spit out of the meat grinder, you know, I had to do a few other things as well. But it was hard to do them, because when you run slow, you know, over time, every week, you be consistent and you keep putting in the mileage, what happens is you get strong. You get extremely strong. And that was one of the things that I loved a lot about this thing, is because the stronger I got, the more I wanted to run. But the more I wanted to run, the more chance I had about picking up an injury. And that's something that I was, you know, very actively trying to not happen to me. But when you love the process so much, it's hard to pull back, because you feel pretty refreshed every day because you're running so slow. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, I got to a point where I was like running 100 miles in 1 week. I mean, think about that. 100 miles in a week. And I had 1 day off. Well, this week, that week I didn't, but I ran 7 days, right? No rest. Now that was kind of not a good thing, because you want to make sure that you've got rest days in there, but sometimes that false hope with a false sense of feeling like Superman and nothing's going to stop you can kind of get in the way. Now, because I started to run so much and I was putting in a lot of mileage, it wasn't 100 kilometers every week, but you know, some weeks there was, some peaks, some weeks there was 50. You know, it just all depends, because I was training for an ultra marathon. But I always found that the more I ran, the stronger my bones felt, the better my joints felt. Now, I think that's probably just a me thing, maybe. But I mean, if you have joint pain right now, I mean, look at what you're eating. If you're eating like a lot of bread, a lot of pasta, a lot of foods that cause your insulin to spike, you know, these are the things that caused my joint pain, along with the weight that I had. Once I removed those inflammatory foods, my skin started to clean up, my joints felt better, and the more I ran, it just felt stronger and stronger. I mean, it's just the way it was, and actually the way it is, because I'm still running. Run, Forrest, run. Okay, insert name there. Come on, Dave, you can run more. Be that better version of you. My hand starts to go numb after a while of holding a selfie stick out for so long. Oh, okay. Got feeling back in my hand. Now, when you're running so slow, the chances of getting injury decrease. Your fat burning ability kicks in extremely strong. You're able to run for a long time. And the great thing about it is you can be consistent. You know, before I took up slow running, my inconsistency due to injuries was pretty high. But, you know, when you're running so slow, you know, and you get the dopamine hit, you feel epic, you feel like you could run forever, you're losing weight, right? Like, your consistency certainly goes up enough if you have the discipline and the self-respect to be able to see it through. And to achieve that, one of the things that, you know, I've recommended to other people is run by time. Don't run by distance, just run by time. Because if you're putting in an hour every day or every second day or whatever you can do, you can get faster and see the results in how far you've run based on the time that you've been running. And I like that method because it's easy to look at, and you're getting the same amount of time on your feet running. But if you run based on distance and you get faster, you end up spending less time out there on the road doing the exercise that you like to do. So by running by time, it gives you that ability, and it keeps you consistent in your running achievements and goals. Now, I know I said this earlier in the video, but you don't always need to run. Anytime there's a hill, heart rate training has taught me, you just walk it. It's okay. It's okay to walk, because your heart rate is going to tell you if you're in the right zone. Now, I talked about a lot of different methods at the beginning. So a lot of that is heart rate based, except for rate of perceived effort. But there is a little bit of that tied into it in terms of how it was found, like how the gentleman who founded that whole concept, he did tie it towards heart rate training. So heart rate training is always there. It's the governor. It basically tells you, you know, what you're doing, like how fast you're going, what you're, you know, how hard you're working. And at some point, your body can't work so hard for so long. Eventually, it will quit. So finding that sweet spot, which is why I like zone 2 training, because it keeps you in that zone, and you can pretty much, you know, pardon the pun, but kind of zone out, because that's all you're paying attention to. That and how long you've been out running for. Now, yeah, is it a pain to look at your watch so many times to make sure that you're in the right zone? Yeah, sure, it can be. But eventually you get so tuned into what your body is doing that it's not a big deal. Eventually you know what the effort that your body is doing and where your heart rate's going to be. And that comes with experience using heart rate training, which is kind of all the things I've talked about in this video. What you can also do is you can set your watch to beep when you go above a certain heart rate, because that way then it'll always give you that ability to slow down and stay in that zone. Now, when I talk about zones, I'm talking about heart rate zones. And I've made a couple of videos on how to find your maximum heart rate so you can come up with a zone. So at the top of the screen is a link to a video where I did this. Yeah, I'm running too fast. Actually, wait a minute. I feel like I am. Oh, it's just a little bit of a hill. Yeah, and I got another little bit of a hill coming up here. I mean, they don't look like large hills, but a slight increase when you're used to running on the flats all the time, you will feel it. And when you do, you just slow down. Right? You slow your cadence. Well, I mean, you can keep your cadence up, but just take slower steps. Maybe your cadence does have to slow down because you gotta walk at some point as well. Something else that you could consider is if by running slow, it allows the transition to running on the trails so much easier, because you're not looking at your watch, looking at your pace. All you are is on the trail looking at your heart rate. And I'll tell you, if you're in an area where you've got some wicked ass trails, pay attention to your heart rate. Will be an awesome thing to do, because I did 6 months of just hiking with no running. I ended up running a half marathon in about 2 hours 15 minutes. Yeah, it may not be, you know, a crazy good time, but under the circumstances, I thought that was pretty awesome. So the trails can be very humbling, even if you're just walking them. If you try to run them, run the flats, run down the hills, and power walk up the hills, you will see such significant increase in fitness. I can't wait till the trails open where I am, because as you can see, there's still a lot of snow. Being from Ontario, Canada, yeah, we got hammered this year. Probably more snow than I've ever seen in a very long time. It's like I always say, get out and run. Once a runner, always a runner. See you on the next video. I think this video here, you get a lot of benefits from. So click this video right here, and we'll see you over there.